Hi everyone, you join me in what is the in-game look at the concept map of the mapping project for GTA 6. Obviously, everything in this video is going to be subject to change and is all based on the 2022 leaks as well as the first and second trailer and the screenshot that came along with trailer 2. It is a rather accurate representation of what we could be seeing as GTA 6's map. But to highlight the subject to change here, allow me to show you the comparison between the version 50 map and the version 51 map. As you can see in version 50, Ambriosa is on top of Lake Leonida, Kelly is on the left of it, and Leonard is at the bottom. But then if you go to version 51, you can see that Ambrosia has been shifted to below Lake Leonida, and Leonard Country has gone a bit more to the right, and Kelly County has gone all the way to the left. Yes, I just realized what I just said, don't point it out. We should start off with a comparison to the GTA 5 map. The reason why we're able to do that is because everything within the mapping project is based on Rockstar's own measurements of their engine, meaning that what you're seeing on your screen could very much mean that this will indeed be the actual size of the map. Mind you, recent leaks are hinting towards the fact that the panhandle, which is this section here on the left, will actually not be included. And judging from some of the insights from the Magic project itself, that left section is going to be cut off, and they're already suspecting that that's not going to be a thing within version 52. So take this section here with a rather large grain of salt. As you can already clearly tell, that it's going to be a little bit larger than GTA 5's map. Most notably, of course, the fact of the inclusion of the keys, as well as, of course, the sections that are a little bit more above. So, obviously, in terms of comparison to the GTA 5 map, as most of us know, the city was like all the way down here, and that's where I guess everything was. Whereas GTA 6's map seemingly is going to have like a large city section over here, and there's going to be like a lot more smaller and or medium towns around the map as a whole. You have Polar Gilhorn here, which is probably like the second largest type of area within the game. Vice City obviously here as well, and it even goes as far as have actual building names and everything along those sides, right? Another really good insight with that too is that there's also a different map which is made by Rick, who goes a lot more in depth with an actual overview of what Vice City is potentially and likely going to look like. Also a little bit less speculative as well, because this is just basically purely based on this is what the map we know is going to look like based on the trailers and screenshots. And as you can see, once again, it goes as deep as to even have the actual numbers and street names for the buildings themselves, because these people are just, you know, they're incredible. Another version of the map as well also has like a little bit less speculation, but as you can clearly tell, it's a lot less complete than the, you know, Dubsters map, which most if not everyone tends to go with. So for the sake of this video, we'll be going with that map and have a closer look at while we start at the top here. At the top, there isn't really a lot going on just yet. We have Mount Caliga, which we've obviously seen from those screenshots, the Fairy Forest Land, Red Hill Forest, Red Hill, so some other things. Like this is basically like, I guess, the mountain terrain of the map, which is why, of course, the speculation of Gloriana happened a bunch for a little while as well. Did a video on that too if you want to check that out yourself. In general, I think the top half really just a lot of mountainous areas. We don't really know about it too much just yet, so everything here is just kind of very much subject to change. Port Gallahorn, however, that's definitely something that we can be very confident of. This entire section here is literally copy pasted from the 2022 leaks, where we could literally see it within the leaks themselves. So that is obviously still subject to change, but is no speculation whatsoever. Obviously, as you can also see, if you zoom in, you can literally see like where it exactly was seen. So trailer 1, scene 27, you know, so you have an idea of like where exactly it is that they're basing stuff on. But judging from this, as you can clearly see, it's like more of like an interstate area with like a lot of connecting like interstates and highways, or whatever you call it. I'm sorry, I'm not American. I apologize for being European, I guess. It seems to be one of more of those places where you would kind of like, you know, drive by real quick, and this again, you know, because it's a port, there's obviously the ports going on here, and the area still is very incomplete. but there is an airfield happening here too. And the second airfield, which is of course Vice City International, is rather complete as to what they think is going to be. There are some speculations going on here. These red buildings in particular, they have kind of like been speculating with, but this should potentially likely be the general layout of Vice City International Airport, formerly known of course as Escobar International. It's not the 80s anymore, so they got rid of the name, I guess. Furthermore, moving down, we can have a closer look at what would be Watson Bay, which seems to be like a bit of a smaller town, which we've obviously seen in the second trailer and some of the screenshots where we get a closer look at what the general area looks like. And again, if you've seen the screenshots and you've seen the trailer, you know how large and how amazing the draw distance is. The same thing kind of goes for Hamlet as well. Smaller town again, but it's all like these little smaller towns, which I want to kind of draw the comparison here to the GTA 5 map again, where you had Sandy Shores and Paleto Bay, which were like a lot further away from each other with a lot more desert, where in GTA 6's map, that seems to kind of really been fixed in that regard. Obviously, the map seems to be larger, but let's take a hypothetical here that you go from Watson Bay and then you make your way back to the city. You're seeing a lot more things that are alive, especially if you were to take a detour past the grass rivers with all the alligators and stuff that are going to be living there. There is more to it, right? It's not just a lot of mountains and empty space. You're seemingly going to be seeing plenty as you get through it. Obviously, if you make a lot of use of said highways, that will be undoubtedly even more so the case. If we're gonna have like any back roads and stuff like that, obviously that's up to speculation. You would assume so, given the fact that, well, it's kind of like still missing a road here, for example, and the list kind of goes on. Moving further down, we can also go to the keys, and well, a lot of this is already very detailed in terms of where the houses are, going as far as to show you where exactly Jason's house is going to be. At least that's speculation. Another thing too is that they've also figured out where the location is of Brian's warehouse. You know, there's the scene with the crate moving into the plane. So, you know, they just figured it out, I suppose. It's a lot of triangulating that they're doing, and it's truly really impressive. Which also means that it is very much possible and likely that the first bit where we're playing as Jason is very much going to be within the keys, which will obviously mean that we're working with Brian. So like this is kind of like the general area where we will start, which probably means that we'll be making our way from the south of the map to the north of the map, where obviously later down the line we'll start moving into like the Vice City things, which would also of course help with the fact that the Leonida Department of Corrections is likely where Lucia is based at the start of the game, maybe. I still want to do like a whole like story video and like kind of diving into that sort of stuff, but to me it makes a lot of sense based on the fact that Jason's house is over here and Lucia is likely, well, housed, I guess, in the corrections department. I'm going to jail! That's it would make very much sense that this is kind of like the area where we're starting GTA 6 in. Furthermore, having a closer look into the keys themselves, you can see that a lot of the roads and the, you know, overall houses and stuff like that have been mapped out for quite a bit. Obviously, those wider shots that we saw in the second trailer have definitely helped with that for sure. As you can clearly tell, like this is where the second trailer first scene was actually shot from, so you can already just see like how much we actually got to see. There's apparently also here a naval air station as well, which is very interesting because it basically would put the amount of airfields and stations and that sort of stuff to 3. That seems to be rather nice spread out. So we have one airfield here, another airfield here, and another one there, which should hopefully mean that if we want to use air travel, that there will be plenty of options to do so, which is great. Because again, comparison to GTA 5, where we really just had like 2-3 airstrips as well, but again, in GTA 5, they were like literally a stone throw away from each other, whereas in GTA 6, that doesn't seem to be as much the case. It seems like the distance between like the Vice City International Airport and the Naval Air Station here is like a larger distance where it would make more sense to have the 2 different airstrips away from each other. Obviously, it is very much possible that we'll be seeing like seaplanes and sparrows and that sort of stuff like in this general area too, or just in general, maybe like more in the Vice City area where we'll be able to grab that and then make our way to a different location. It's GTA after all. But zooming back into the Leonida Keys, there are some more here. I've heard from the mapping project themselves that they're not entirely sure how many of these keys are going to be here. So the Leonida keys is very much going to be like a subject to change type of thing. So with literally everything else as well, but it is at least very interesting to see. I think that like this general area down here would be a great way of starting the game in. Obviously, it is very, very good looking, and we're very much looking forward to see what that's going to look like. Having a closer look into Vice City, there is a lot known about Vice City. Just starting on the right island here, obviously there is some speculation and stuff like that in terms of roads and also the Flamingo Park. But you can clearly see that it tries to stay true to the original island as much as you can, at least the main island on the right. The islands more towards the left side very much changed from its original, but also the midsection here too. There's a lot more islands within the middle, where if you look at the original, you could see that it just basically had the movie studio, Starfish Island, and at the bottom you had the bridge where you could go through. There were multiple ways to go over to the other island, of course, in terms of the amount of bridges and stuff like that. But this time around, it just seems to have like a lot more involvement where you kind of like constantly driving through some sort of population, which again seemingly is like a lot of the focus within GTA 6's map, whereas in GTA 5 there was a lot of like you're driving through a lot of barren lands and stuff, and this you seem to always kind of drive through some kind of population, at least in a decent amount of time, which is very nice because it really will help with making the map feel more alive. To further highlight that, and I guess maybe also a bit of a focus on having stuff going on within the water in Vice City, because you know the previous two games you had in Vice City, they weren't too fond of swimming. Vic was okay with it, but not for too long, and it wasn't really much of a focus on the water aspect of it. And judging from a screenshot that we've seen as well, there's a lot of different boats and seaplanes and stuff that which I'm sure we'll be seeing obviously throughout the game. So having something like, you know, here the little bird key and like the picnic islands, right? I'm sure there's going to be like little secrets and that sort of stuff that are going to be actually hidden within those islands, will make it very interesting to explore as well. Obviously, the Leave Link Golf Club over here, to just be an island, there's probably some sort of connectivity there to actually be able to get there, or else you would have to like actually get a boat to go do some golfing, which I mean would be kind of funny, I guess. But to kind of continue on with said smaller islands in the middle, as you can see, like Starfish is like not really here anymore. It's kind of completely changed. This apparently like Star Island, which is like this section here, so everything really has been like shifted around in some sections of what the original map actually was, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think GTA 6's map being like its own thing and not try to draw too much from the original while still having some hints of it, because like obviously we can see that the right side of the map here very much is like still inspired by its original and try to stay somewhat true to it. Obviously it seems to be a little bit smaller in terms of size, because obviously in the original you had like this really large stretch of road on the side here, which doesn't seem to be as much of the case, and the shape is a little bit different too, which again is totally fine. The focus once again on like all these little islands in the middle will once again feel that the midsection between those two islands a lot more lively and alive, which is very good to see. Moving to the left side of the map, we can see some more things being mapped out here. Once again, a lot of speculation going on in this area in particular. We do know about Crosstown, and obviously that being near the international airport. Interestingly enough, Rock Ridge, we already know that there's going to be a gun store there, so if you are looking to load up the game and immediately get yourself some weapons, you now know where to go. You're welcome. There's also a house vacant here apparently for the stockyard area of the map as well. And again, as you can clearly tell, Rock Ridge and Stockyard are like still a little bit further away from each other, but you would kind of assume that based on the fact that there seemingly is like a large arena here, that each town kind of have like its own character going on. And it's not like as in GTA 5 where you just had Los Santos and then you had the rest, which is again very nice to see. There's also some other speculative locations here too, where we don't really have a lot of just yet because we haven't really seen any footage of it, but you can kind of once again tell that the focus on having those little smaller towns here and there as you're driving through the rest of the map, that you'll be seeing plenty of that. Another thing of that too, of course, as we make our way up north again a little bit, Ambrosia is something that, and Lake Leonida has kind of been like a lot of discussion within the community of like where exactly it is, primarily based on the lack of footage that we have of it. So that's obviously a huge grain of salt here. But as you can clearly tell from the right side of the map here, they're speculating that there's going to be like a lot more little islands like that, with something called Sea View up here too, which I'm sure is going to be plenty more beaches and things to explore as we get throughout the game. Obviously, also a huge shout out to all these folks who have been doing an incredible job at making sure the community is getting some kind of an idea of what the GTA 6 map is going to look like. And of course, if you want to have some more insight of how the mapping project comes along and that sort of stuff, there's a Discord as well as a YouTube channel from one of the guys of the GTA 6 mapping project that kind of goes in depth into how exactly they figure it out, where exactly everything is. Very insightful stuff. Definitely a must watch for anyone who is interested and getting to know all the nitty and gritty based on actual footage instead of like someone on Twitter making a post and saying this is going to happen. It's a nice change. Hopefully soon though we'll see an update. If we do see an update from the mapping project, I'll be sure to report back on it, because I think it's going to be fun to just kind of like look at all the different versions. I might even go as far as to like make like a whole history of the mapping project video. Could be kind of cool to see how the map has evolved over time. But for now, thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.